Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're diving deep, and I mean really deep, back to a time before time as we know it. Before calendars, before history, before us. We're going to the very dawn of the human story. A story that begins, ironically, in a world completely empty of humanity. So, to really get a handle on the incredible tale of Prometheus and Pandora, we first need to understand the world they were born into. We need to set the stage. So, picture this. The universe has just survived a war of truly cosmic proportions. A brutal, 10-year conflict that shook the very foundations of existence. On one side, you had the Titans, the old guard, the primordial forces of nature led by the powerful Cronus. And on the other, the upstarts, the new generation of gods, his very own children, led by the ambitious and formidable Zeus. The battle had been apocalyptic. Mountains were torn from their roots and used as projectiles. The seas boiled, the skies screamed with lightning, and the raw, untamed power unleashed was enough to make the fabric of reality itself tremble. But now, silence. The war is over. Zeus and his siblings, the Olympians, are victorious. The once mighty Titans are defeated, overthrown, and cast down into the deepest, darkest pit of the underworld. Think of Tartarus not just as a prison, but as a concept. It is a void so deep and so bleak that it is as far beneath the earth as the earth is beneath the heavens. It's a place of eternal punishment, of absolute despair, guarded by unimaginable horrors. This is where the old gods are locked away, their roars of fury now just faint echoes in a world that has already forgotten them. The new management is in town. On the shimmering peak of Mount Olympus, a new order is being established. Zeus, now the undisputed king of the gods, takes the sky as his domain, his symbol, the thunderbolt that won him the war. His brother, Poseidon, claims the vast, mysterious expanse of the seas, his trident capable of stirring the oceans into a fury or calming them to a glassy peace. And the other brother, Hades, is given dominion over the underworld, the realm of the dead, a kingdom of shadows and echoes. The rest of the Olympian pantheon finds their place in this new hierarchy. Apollo, Artemis, Hades, each governing their own aspect of the new cosmic reality. They are gods of order, of civilization, of structure. They have brought a new kind of sanity to a universe that was previously ruled by raw, chaotic power. And, from their golden palaces on Olympus, they look down upon their prize, the earth. And what an earth it is. Imagine a world untouched, pristine, a masterpiece of divine artistry, still cooling from the forge of creation. The mountains are sharper, their peaks scraping a sky that's a more brilliant blue than you've ever seen. The forests are ancient and impossibly dense, filled with trees that have never known an axe. Rivers, clear as crystal, carve their way through the land, teeming with life. The air is clean, pure, electric. It's a paradise, a perfect, sprawling, silent paradise. Of course, it's not completely silent. There are creatures here. Animals of all shapes and sizes roam these virgin lands. Lions with magnificent manes, deer that move with an impossible grace, eagles that soar on the thermal winds. The oceans are filled with strange and wonderful beasts. Life exists, but it's a life lived on instinct. The animals hunt, they eat, they sleep, they reproduce. They live and die according to the ancient rhythms of nature, but they don't look up at the stars and wonder what they are. They don't see a sunset and feel a sense of awe or melancholy. They don't gather around a fire to tell stories. They lack a certain spark. That's the crucial missing piece. The world is a stage, a breathtakingly beautiful one. But the actors haven't arrived yet. The gods on Olympus, for their part, are mostly content with this. They've just won a massive war. They're busy organizing their new kingdom, celebrating their victory, and enjoying the fruits of their labor. The earth below is their beautiful self-regulating terrarium, a testament to their power and glory. What more could they need? A masterpiece doesn't need an audience to be a masterpiece, right? But a nagging feeling persists. An unspoken question hangs in the air. What is a kingdom without subjects? What is a song without someone to hear it? This perfect world, in all its majesty, is ultimately lonely. It lacks a consciousness to appreciate it, to name its mountains and its rivers, to feel joy in its sunlight and fear in its storms. It lacks a creature that can look up towards the peak of Mount Olympus and feel a sense of wonder, of reverence, of worship. The world is an instrument, but no one is there to play it. This is the state of things. A victorious, orderly heaven, yawning silence in between. A silence just waiting to be filled. The stage is set for a new kind of creator, a being who will look upon this empty paradise and see not a finished product, but an opportunity, a place for a new, fragile, and fascinating form of life. So, you have this perfect, pristine world, a silent masterpiece hanging in the cosmos. The gods on Olympus are patting themselves on the back, enjoying their hard-won peace. But not everyone is at the victory party. There's one figure, a powerful, an enigmatic being, who walks the earth not as a conqueror, but as a wanderer. He's not looking at the world as a possession, but as a project that's unfinished. This is Prometheus. And to understand the story of humanity, you first have to understand him. Now, the first thing you need to know about Prometheus is that he's a titan, one of the very race of beings that Zeus just spent a decade of brutal warfare to overthrow and imprison in the eternal darkness of Tartarus. So, what is he doing walking free, enjoying a position of respect, however grudging, among the Olympians? Well, that's because Prometheus is different. He's a rebel, but not in the way you might think. He didn't rebel against Zeus. He rebelled against his own kind. His name, Prometheus, literally means forethought, and this isn't just a cool title. It's his defining characteristic. It's his superpower. Prometheus has the incredible ability to see the flow of events, to understand the consequences of actions before they're ever taken. He's not a fortune teller who sees vague, cryptic visions. He's more like a grandmaster of chess playing on a cosmic scale. He sees the whole board, understands every piece, and can calculate all the possible moves and their outcomes, 10, 20, 100 steps ahead. So, when the Titamati was brewing, Prometheus looked at the two sides. He saw his Titan brethren, led by Kronos, powerful, yes, but also arrogant, brutish, and resistant to change. They ruled by sheer force. Then he looked at Zeus and the Olympians. He saw cunning, strategy, ambition, and a new kind of order they wanted to bring to the universe. And with his incredible foresight, he knew, with absolute certainty, who was going to win. So, he made a choice. He and his brother, Epimetheus, broke ranks with the Titans and offered their allegiance to Zeus. Prometheus's counsel during the war proved invaluable, and his decision to back the winning horse earned him his freedom and a place in the New World Order. But you have to imagine his position. He's an outsider on the inside. He's respected for his wisdom, but he's not one of them. He carries the blood of the defeated enemy. There's always going to be a level of suspicion, a distance between him and the shiny, perfect Olympians. And while the Olympians are busy with their divine dramas, their feasts, and their politics on the mountaintop, Prometheus is drawn to the world below. He wanders the ancient forests, walks along the shores of the primordial seas, and feels that profound loneliness we talked about. He sees the lion with its strength, the eagle with its keen sight, the deer with its speed. He sees that every creature has been given a gift to help it survive and thrive in its niche. Fur to keep warm, claws for defense, wings to escape danger. They are perfectly equipped for their existence. But as he watches them, his heart, which is far more sympathetic than that of any Olympian god, feels a deep and abiding pity. They live, they die, and that's it. There's no spark, no art, no science, no laughter, no wonder. And in his mind, a revolutionary idea begins to form. He envisions a new creature, a creature that would be physically inferior to the beasts. It wouldn't have the lioness claws or the bearess thick hide or the eagle-esque wings. It would be born naked, weak, and vulnerable. But it would be given a different kind of gift. A gift that, in the long run, would be more powerful than any of them. The gift of a mind. This is the core of Prometheus's character. He is the ultimate patron of potential. He doesn't just see what is, he sees what could be. He looks at a lump of clay and sees a statue. He looks at a silent world and hears a symphony. He feels a connection to the earth and its potential inhabitants that the other gods, in their detached perfection, simply cannot comprehend. This isn't about serving Zeus or glorifying the Olympian order. This is a personal mission. It's a project born from empathy, from a deep, almost paternal love for a creation that doesn't even exist yet. He knows this is a dangerous game. Zeus is a god of absolute order. His new world is structured, balanced, and under his complete control. A new creature, endowed with intelligence, with the ability to reason, to question, to create for itself. That's a wild card. That's a potential disruption to the divine balance. It could be seen as a challenge to Zeus's authority. But Prometheus, with his forethought, understands the risks. Yet, his compassion, his vision of a world filled with thinking, feeling, striving beings, overrides his caution. The silence of the earth is a void he feels compelled to fill. He has made his decision. The wanderer is about to become a creator, and he knows just where to start. So, Prometheus, our visionary titan, has made up his mind. The world needs a new kind of being, a creature of thought and wonder. The Olympians are too busy with their celestial politics to bother with such a project, so Prometheus takes it upon himself. This isn't going to be a creation born of thunder and lightning, like the gods themselves. It's going to be something quieter, more intimate, more earthy. He sets out to craft humanity, not with cosmic fire, but with the very soil of the world he wants them to inhabit. He travels to a specific place in Greece, a place called Panopeus in the region of Boeotia. It was known for its rich, pliable, red clay. This isn't just any dirt. In the Greek mindset, this clay was special. It was almost like the earth's own flesh, a substance that held a kind of latent life force. This is where Prometheus will set up his workshop. He finds a quiet riverbank, a place where the water runs clear and the clay is perfect for sculpting. And there, he begins the painstaking process of creating the first humans. Now, I want you to really picture this scene. It's not a factory assembly line. This is the work of an artist, a sculptor pouring his very essence into his work. Prometheus gathers the clay, feels its texture in his hands, its coolness, its potential. He mixes it with river water, kneading it, working it until it has the perfect consistency. He's not just building a golem or a simple automaton. He is trying to create a vessel capable of holding a soul, a mind, a consciousness. So he decides to model them after the gods themselves. He sculpts them to stand upright. This is a crucial detail. Unlike the four-legged beasts who look down at the ground, his creation would stand tall, their faces turned upward, towards the heavens, towards the stars, towards Mount Olympus. Their very posture would be one of aspiration, of looking beyond their immediate self. He carefully shapes the limbs, making them not as strong as a bear's or as swift as a deer's, but giving them an incredible versatility. He crafts hands with long, delicate fingers and opposable thumbs, not for fighting or climbing, but for holding tools, for creating art, for gesturing, for expressing complex ideas. He's building in the potential for craftsmanship and artistry from the very beginning. He sculpts the face with immense care. He forms a mouth, not just for eating, but for speaking, for singing, for laughing. He carves ears to hear not just the rustle of a predator in the leaves, but the beauty of music and the power of a spoken story. And he forms eyes, positioned to look forward, to focus, to perceive the world with depth and clarity. He is building a creature designed for perception, for communication, for community. As he works, some versions of the myth say that his tears of compassion and empathy fall into the clay, mixing with the earth and water. And this is a beautiful and poignant detail. It suggests that humanity is created not just from physical substances, but from the very emotions of our Creator. We are molded from earth, water, and sympathy. A touch of divine sorrow and love is baked into our very essence. This is why we can feel such profound joy and such deep sadness. It's the echo of Prometheus's tears in our DNA. He doesn't just make one, he makes many, shaping each one with individual care, giving them subtle differences. Just as a master sculptor would never make two statues exactly alike, he lays them out on the riverbank to dry in the sun. These silent, motionless clay figures. They have the form of humans, the potential for life, but they are still just shells. They are beautiful sculptures, but they are empty. They lack the final, crucial ingredient. The spark of life, the breath, the soul. To get this, Prometheus has to call in a favor. Or perhaps, the gods, seeing his work, decide to contribute. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, of strategy, and of craftsmanship, female counterpart to Prometheus, in many ways is drawn to his creation. She is impressed by the artistry, the potential she sees in these clay forms. She understands what he's trying to do, and so, in a moment of divine grace, she comes down to the riverbank. She moves among the clay figures, and she breathes into them. The Greek word for this is psyche, the breath of life, the soul, the mind. One by one, as Athena breathes upon them, the clay figures begin to stir. Their chests rise and fall with their first breath. Color floods into their earthen skin. Their eyes, sculpted by Prometheus, now open and blink in the sunlight for the first time. They slowly sit up, looking around in a state of pure, unadulterated wonder. They look at their own hands, at the river, at the sky, and at the face of their creator, Prometheus, looking down on them with a paternal love. The silence of the world is broken, not by a roar or a screech, but by a gasp of awe. Humanity is born. Alright, so humanity exists. The clay figures on the riverbank have been brought to life by the breath of Athena and the loving craftsmanship of Prometheus. They are here, and for a fleeting moment, it must have been a scene of pure, unadulterated triumph for their creator. He'd done it. He had filled the silent world with consciousness. But the reality of the situation sets in very, very quickly. And that reality is this: his creation is profoundly, almost tragically, flawed. Let's step back and look at the situation from a practical, biological standpoint. Prometheus has created a creature modeled on the gods, designed to stand upright and look at the heavens, but he's made them out of clay and water. They are soft, they are fragile, they have none of the natural advantages that every other animal in this world possesses. Think about it. The deer has its speed to outrun a wolf. The wolf has its teeth and claws to hunt the deer. The bear has a thick hide and immense strength. The eagle has wings and talons. Every creature has been given its own specific set of tools for survival, a gift from the gods to ensure its place in the great, brutal food chain. But humanity, they have nothing. They are born naked, without fur to protect them from the cold of the night or the bite of the wind. When the sun goes down, they shiver, huddled together for warmth, their teeth chattering. Their skin is thin and easily torn. A simple fall on a sharp rock could cause a life-threatening injury. They have no natural weapon. Their fingernails are pathetic compared to a lion's claws. Their teeth are made for grinding plants and cooked meat, not for tearing into raw flesh. Put a lone, unarmed human up against a moderately hungry wild boar, and it's not going to be a fair fight. They can't outrun predators. They can't fly away from danger. They can't burrow underground. They are, in essence, the most helpless creatures in all of creation. They are a prey animal with none of the standard prey animal defenses, and they are surrounded by creatures who are bigger, stronger, and faster. They are constantly afraid. The world that Prometheus saw as a beautiful, lonely paradise is, for his new creation, a terrifying death trap. Every shadow could hide a predator. Every rustle in the grass is a potential threat. The night is not a time of peaceful rest. It's a long, dark horror filled with unseen dangers. But their vulnerability isn't just physical, it's also intellectual, at least in the beginning. Yes, Prometheus designed them for thought, and Athena breathed a soul into them. But they are born as a blank slate. They have no instincts to guide them. A baby bird knows to open its mouth for its mother. A foal can walk within minutes of being born. Humans are born completely helpless and have to be taught everything. They don't know which plants are poisonous and which are edible. They don't know how to build a shelter or where to find clean water. They look up at the sun and the moon, but they don't understand the passage of days or seasons. They are like ghosts, as the playwright Aeschylus describes them, wandering the earth in a daze, living in caves and holes in the ground like ants, without purpose or understanding. Prometheus's heart breaks for them. He had envisioned them as masters of the world, but he sees them as its most pitiful victims. His grand project seems like a catastrophic failure. He has created consciousness, but he has placed it in a vessel of suffering. He sees them trying to survive, digging for roots with their bare hands, being picked off by predators, dying from cold and disease. This is a miserable existence, and the gods on Olympus, they look down on this whole experiment with a mixture of amusement and contempt. They see these weak, shivering creatures and see them as an insult, a pale and pathetic imitation of their own divine forms. They are certainly not inclined to help. This is the first great crisis of humanity. The gift of consciousness, of being able to perceive your own suffering, is a curse without the tools to do anything about it. It's one thing to be a dumb animal that gets eaten. It's another thing entirely to be a thinking creature that lives in constant, existential dread of being eaten. Prometheus realizes that he has only done half the job. He gave them the hardware, the mind, the body, the soul, but he hasn't given them the software. He hasn't given them the tools, the knowledge, the one thing that could level the playing field, the one thing that could take them from being the world's most vulnerable prey to its ultimate master. He needs to give them technology. And the first and most important technology of all is fire. So, humanity is on the brink. They are fragile, terrified, and completely outmatched by the world around them. Prometheus looks upon his shivering, struggling creation, and his heart is filled not with creator's pride, but with a profound sense of responsibility and pity. He knows he can't leave them in this state. He needs to give them a tool. Not just a tool, the tool. The one thing that can transform their existence from a desperate struggle for survival into a journey of mastery. He needs to give them fire. But there's a major problem. Fire is not a toy. In the Greek cosmos, fire is a divine element. It's the stuff of the sun, the stars, and most importantly, Zeus's thunderbolts. The sacred hearth on Mount Olympus contains a fire that is never allowed to go out, a symbol of the gods' immortal power and their dominion over the universe. It belongs to them, and them alone. Zeus has explicitly forbidden giving fire to mortals. Why? Because Zeus, for all his power, is a ruler who is deeply concerned with maintaining the status quo. He understands that fire is more than just a source of warmth. Fire is power. It's technology. It's the seed of civilization. Giving fire to humans would be like giving them a key to unlock their own potential, to become independent of the gods. It would elevate them from being pitiful creatures to being something else. Something unpredictable. Something that could, one day, challenge the gods themselves. And Zeus will not have that. Prometheus, with his gift of forethought, understands all of this perfectly. He knows that stealing fire from the gods is the ultimate transgression. It's not just theft, it's sacrilege. It's a direct act of rebellion against the king of the gods. He knows that the punishment for this will be swift, terrible, and eternal. He has seen it. But then he looks back down at the suffering of his creation. He sees the children crying from the cold. He sees the fear in their eyes as darkness falls, and he makes his choice. He will defy the heavens to save humanity. His compassion outweighs his fear of retribution. The plan he concocts is both simple and audacious. He needs a way to transport the fire from Olympus down to Earth without it being extinguished. He finds a giant fennel stalk. Now this is a fascinating detail. A fennel stalk is long and hard on the outside, but its pith, its core, is dry and fibrous. It burns very slowly, like a wick. It's the perfect natural container for smuggling a secret flame. It's a detail that shows Prometheus's cleverness, his intimate knowledge of the natural world. So, armed with his fennel stalk, he makes his way to Mount Olympus. The stories vary on how exactly he gets the fire. Some say he ascends to the heavens and steals a coal directly from the sacred hearth of the gods, a place of ultimate sanctity. This version highlights his audacity, his willingness to walk right into the heart of his enemy's power. Another, perhaps more popular version, says he gets it from the forge of Hephaestus, the divine blacksmith. Hephaestus is the god of craftsmanship and invention, the one who forges Zeus's thunderbolts. In a way, he is the Olympian counterpart to Prometheus. There is a sense of poetic justice in Prometheus, stealing the fire of invention from the god of invention to give it to his own fledgling creators. Yet another version says he waited for the sun chariot, driven by Apollo, to pass close to the earth, and he lit his stalk from the fires of the sun itself. Regardless of the specific source, the act is the same. Prometheus, the Titan rebel, takes the divine flame, the exclusive property of the gods, and conceals it within the humble fennel stalk. He then begins his descent back to Earth, carefully protecting his precious, stolen cargo. Imagine that journey. He's moving as quickly and as stealthily as he can, every shadow making him jump. He's not just carrying a flame, he's carrying the future of humanity. He's carrying knowledge, warmth, safety, community, and civilization, all smoldering secretly inside a weed. He arrives back among the humans. They are huddled in their caves, shivering, afraid of the encroaching darkness, and Prometheus steps into their midst, holding the fennel stalk. He breaks it open, and reveals the glowing, living ember inside. He uses it to light a pile of dry wood, and for the first time on Earth, a controlled fire springs to life. The effect is instantaneous and transformative. The humans, at first terrified of this dancing, hissing phenomenon, are drawn to its warmth. The cold that has plagued them their entire lives recedes. For the first time, they feel a sense of comfort and security. The light from the fire pushes back the terrifying darkness, creating a circle of safety. The nocturnal predators that hunted them are now afraid of the light and the heat. They stay away. The cave is no longer a tomb, it's a home. But that's just the beginning. Prometheus doesn't just give them fire. He teaches them how to use it. He shows them how to cook meat, which makes it easier to digest and unlocks more nutrients, allowing their brains to grow. He shows them how to bake clay into pottery, creating vessels to store food and water. He shows them how to melt ore and forge metal, creating tools that are far superior to sharpened sticks and stones. With fire, they can create axes to build proper shelters, plows to farm the land, and weapons to defend themselves. Fire becomes the heart of their community. They gather around the campfire at night, not just for warmth, but for companionship. This is where they share stories. This is where culture is born. The gift of fire is the gift of everything. It's the catalyst that turns these fragile, struggling creatures into human beings. Prometheus has succeeded. He has saved his creation, but as he watches them thrive, he knows that the eye of Zeus from the top of Olympus has seen the flicker of this unauthorized flame, and that his time as a Titan is about to come to a very, very painful end. The gift of fire changes everything for humanity. Down on Earth, a revolution is underway. The shivering, terrified creatures Prometheus had pitied are now starting to build, to create, to thrive. The light of their campfires can be seen from afar, tiny pinpricks of defiance against the vast, primordial darkness. And from the golden peak of Mount Olympus, Zeus sees it all. And he is not pleased. In fact, not pleased is a colossal understatement. He is filled with a cold, divine fury. To understand Zeus's anger, you have to get inside his head. He's not just angry because someone broke his rules. He's angry because he's been undermined. The Titanomachy was a war fought for a new kind of order, a cosmic hierarchy with him at the very top. Everything and everyone had its place. The gods ruled from on high, immortal and all. The beasts roamed the earth, living by instinct, and humanity, if it had to exist at all, was supposed to be a lowly, worshipful creature, utterly dependent on the whims of the gods for its survival. They were meant to be subjects, not competitors. Prometheus's theft of fire shatters this carefully constructed order. Fire, as Zeus well knows, is the key to independence. It allows humans to control their environment. With warmth, they no longer need to pray for a mild winter. With cooked food and forged tools, they can secure their own sustenance, no longer needing to beg the gods for a bountiful hunt. With light, they conquer the night, a domain that should belong to the gods and their mysterious ways. Fire allows them to stop being reactive creatures, constantly at the mercy of the world, and to start being proactive creators, shaping the world to their will. They start building villages, then towns. They develop agriculture, mathematics, astronomy. They start looking at the stars not just with wonder, but with calculation. In Zeus's eyes, this is an abomination. Prometheus hasn't just given them a tool, he's given them a piece of divinity. He has blurred the sacred line between mortal and god, and this sets a dangerous precedent. If these creatures can master fire, what's next? What's to stop them, in a few thousand years, from building their own mountain to challenge Olympus? Zeus sees the long arc of history, and he sees this single act of defiance as the seed of a future rebellion. His authority, the very foundation of his power, has been challenged, not by a titan or a monster, but by a titan on behalf of these insignificant clay creatures. So, Zeus's rage is not a hot, impulsive anger, it's a cold, calculating fury. He decides that a punishment is in order. A punishment of such epic and terrible proportions that it will serve as an eternal warning to anyone, mortal or god, who dares to defy him. And the punishment must be twofold. First, he must deal with the primary offender, the architect of this rebellion, Prometheus. Second, he must deal with humanity itself. He can't just take the fire back. The secret is out, the knowledge has been shared, so he needs to find a way to curse the gift, to poison the well, to ensure that this newfound power comes with a terrible, enduring price. Let's start with Prometheus. Zeus sends his enforcers Kratos and Baia to grim personified spirits who do his dirty work. They seize Prometheus. They drag him to the ends of the earth, to the desolate, windswept Caucasus Mountains. There, on a lonely, barren peak, they carry out Zeus's terrible sentence. With the help of Hephaestus, who does so reluctantly, as he considers Prometheus a kinsman and fellow craftsman, they use unbreakable adamantine chains, forged in the same fires that Prometheus stole from. And the torture doesn't end there. Being chained to a rock for eternity is bad enough for an immortal being, but Zeus adds a particularly cruel, daily torment. Every single day, a giant eagle-an emblem of Zeus himself swoops down from the sky. It lands on Prometheus's chest and, with its sharp beak and talons, tears open his abdomen and devours his liver. All day, the Titan endures this excruciating pain. Then, at night, after the eagle has flown away, his immortal body heals itself. His liver regenerates completely, making him whole again, just in time for the eagle to return the next morning and start the horrific process all over again. Day after day, for centuries, for millennia. It is a cycle of agony without end, a masterpiece of divine cruelty designed to punish the Titan who dared to love humanity too much. But what about humanity? What about the recipients of the stolen gift? Zeus's plan for them is far more subtle, more insidious. A direct punishment might make them resentful. No, he decides to give them a gift, a beautiful, irresistible gift that they will welcome with open arms. A gift that will, from the inside out, corrupt their newfound happiness and unleash unending misery upon them. He is going to create a new being, a beautiful evil, as the poet Hesiod calls it. He is going to create the first woman. He is going to create Pandora. Zeus's plan for revenge on humanity is a masterstroke of psychological warfare. He is not going to smite them with thunderbolts or drown them in a flood that's too simple, too direct. It would make them martyrs. Instead, he decides to weaponize their own nature against them. He's going to give them a gift so wonderful, so beautiful, that they will eagerly accept it, and in doing so, they will unleash their own doom. The plan is to create Pandora, and this is not a solo project. Zeus commissions the entire Olympian pantheon to contribute to her creation, making her the ultimate divine collaboration. The name Pandora itself means all-gifted or all-giving, and that's exactly what she is. Each of the gods bestows upon her a specific quality, layering gift upon gift to craft the perfect, irresistible trap. The process begins with Hephaestus, the divine blacksmith, the very same god who reluctantly chained Prometheus to the rock. Zeus commands him to take clay and water, the same materials Prometheus used to create Manan to sculpt a new form. Hephaestus, the master craftsman, shapes a creature with the face of a goddess and the body of a perfect maiden. He creates a form of such breathtaking beauty that it would make any mortal or god stop and stare. She is a work of art, physically flawless. Next comes Athena, the goddess of wisdom and crafts, who had previously helped Prometheus by breathing life into his clay, and now she finds herself on the other side of the equation. Following Zeus's orders, she clothes Pandora in shimmering, silvery robes, fit for a queen. She places an intricately embroidered veil over her head, a detail that adds an aura of mystery and allure. Then, Athena weaves fresh flowers into her hair and crowns her with a magnificent golden diadem, which is exquisitely decorated with images of all the creatures of the land and sea. Athena, the goddess of skill, essentially handles the wardrobe and styling, making Pandora not just beautiful, but radiantly, divinely elegant. Then, the other gods add their contributions, each one a poisoned chalice, disguised as a blessing. Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, is called upon. She pours grace and charm upon Pandora. She gives her the power of irresistible desire, the kind of allure that can drive men to distraction and make them forget all reason. She instills in her a deep and powerful longing, a constant ache of passion. This makes Pandora not just an object of beauty, but an active agent of seduction. Apollo, the god of music and prophecy, gives her the gift of a beautiful voice and the ability to play the lyre, so her very presence would be an enchantment of sight and sound. But here we start to see the turn. Hermes, the messenger god, the trickster, the master of cunning and deceit, is given a crucial role. Zeus instructs him to give Pandora a bitchy mind and a cheating heart. As Hesiod so bluntly puts it, Hermes breathes into her the arts of persuasion, of lies, and of manipulation. He gives her a silver tongue, the ability to make a weak argument sound strong and to twist the truth with a beautiful smile. And most importantly, Hermes instills in her one final, critical trait: a powerful and insatiable curiosity, a burning need to know, to uncover secrets, to see what is hidden. This is the linchpin of Zeus's entire plan. He knows that humans, especially the intelligent and aspiring creatures that Prometheus has fostered, have a natural desire to understand the world. By amplifying this trait in Pandora to an unbearable degree, he is setting a psychological trap that is almost guaranteed to be sprung. So now the creation is complete. Standing before the assembled gods is Pandora, a living paradox. She is a Kalan Kakan, a beautiful evil. From the outside, she is perfection. She is lovely, graceful, charming, talented. She is everything a man could ever desire. But, on the inside, she is a Trojan horse. Her mind is filled with deceit, and her heart is wired with a fatal curiosity, planted there by the gods themselves. she is not evil in the sense that she wants to cause harm. She is, in fact, an innocent. She doesn't know she's a weapon. She is simply programmed to behave in a certain way, to follow the impulses the gods have so carefully implanted within her. And to complete the package, Zeus gives her a wedding gift. It's a jar, or in later traditions, a box. The Greek word is pithos, which was a large clay storage jar, often partially buried in the ground, used for storing wine, oil, or grain. This isn't some small, ornate jewelry box. It's a large, sealed container, and Zeus tells her that it is a very special gift from him, but she must never, ever open it. The ultimate temptation for the creature he is just filled with insatiable curiosity. The trap is now fully assembled and baited. All that's left is to deliver it. So, Pandora is complete, a masterpiece of divine creation, and a masterpiece of divine malice. She is the perfect, beautiful, irresistible time bomb. Now, Zeus just needs to deliver her to the right address, and that address is not Prometheus. He's too smart. With his foresight, he would see the trap from a mile away. No, Zeus has a much easier target in mind. Prometheus's brother, Epimetheus. Let's talk about Epimetheus for a moment, because he is the perfect foil to his brother and the key to this entire part of the story. If Prometheus's name means forethought, Epimetheus's name means the exact opposite. Afterthought, where Prometheus is wise, calculating, and able to see the consequences of actions far in the future, Epimetheus is impulsive, naive, and lives entirely in the moment. He acts first and thinks later, if he thinks at all. He sees a pretty flower and picks it, without wondering if it's poisonous. He hears a friendly voice and trusts it, without questioning the speaker's motives. He is good-natured, but he is a fool. And Prometheus knows this. Before he was dragged off to the Caucasus Mountains, Prometheus had given his brother one very specific, very important warning. He said, "Epimetheus, my dear brother, if the gods on Olympus ever offer you a gift, no matter how beautiful or tempting it may seem, you must refuse it. It will be a trick. Do not, under any circumstances, accept anything from Zeus." It was a clear, simple instruction, designed to protect his simple-minded brother. So, the stage is set for a tragedy of errors. Hermes, the messenger of the gods, is tasked with the delivery. He descends from Olympus, leading the breathtakingly beautiful Pandora by the hand. He arrives at the home of Epimetheus. Now, you have to imagine this from Epimetheus's perspective. He is living in a world that is still new, still rough around the edges. He is likely lonely. The first men are his brother's creation, but they are busy building their new world with their new fire. And then, one day, the messenger of the gods himself shows up at his door with the most beautiful creature he has ever seen. Pandora is radiant. She is clothed in silvery robes, crowned with flowers and gold, and she exudes a charm that is literally divine in origin. He is dumbfounded. He has never seen anyone or anything like her. And Hermes, with his silver tongue, presents her as a gift from Zeus himself. A peace offering, he might have suggested, a bride for Epimetheus, to show that there are no hard feelings over the whole stealing fire incident. A gesture of reconciliation between the gods and the titans who sided with them. In that moment, all of Prometheus's warnings fly right out of Epimetheus. The words "do not accept any gift from the gods" are completely forgotten. All he sees is the beautiful woman standing in front of him. All he feels is the overwhelming desire that Aphrodite so carefully instilled in her. He is a man of afterthought, not forethought. He sees the immediate, wonderful present, and the potential future consequences don't even register as a possibility. He is looking at a gift horse, and he is not about to look it in the mouth. He welcomes her with open arms. He accepts the gift. He takes Pandora as his wife, and with her, he also accepts the wedding present she brought. The large, sealed pithos, the jar. Hermes, his mission accomplished, probably gives a sly, knowing smile, and then zips back to Olympus to report his success to Zeus. And for a while, everything is perfect. Epimetheus is overjoyed with his new bride. Pandora, for her part, settles into her new life. She is charming and lovely, and she brings a new level of beauty and grace into his world. The two of them are happy. The gift, on the surface, appears to be exactly what it was presented as, a wonderful, divine blessing. The trap is now inside the gates. The Trojan horse has been wheeled into the city square, and the people are celebrating around it, but the jar is there. It sits in a corner of their home, a constant, silent presence. It's large, it's sealed, and it's mysterious. Pandora was explicitly told never to open it. But remember what Hermes put inside her: an insatiable, gnawing curiosity. And every day, she looks at the jar. She walks past it, she runs her hands over its cool, clay surface, and the question begins to burn in her mind. What could be inside? Why would the gods give her such a magnificent container and forbid her from looking within it? If it was something dangerous, why give it to her at all? Maybe it's more treasure, maybe it's jewels, or beautiful clothes, or some other divine wonder. The not knowing becomes a kind of torture, a constant mental itch that she cannot scratch. The psychological mechanism that Zeus designed is working perfectly. It's no longer a question of if she will open the jar, but when life goes on for Epimetheus and Pandora, a seemingly idyllic existence. But the jar, the Pythos, is a shadow in the corner of their perfect world. For Epimetheus, the man of afterthought, it's just part of the furniture. He probably doesn't give it a second thought. He's happy with his beautiful wife and his new life. But for Pandora, it's an obsession. That seed of curiosity planted by Hermes has taken root and is growing into a suffocating vine, wrapping around her every thought. Every day, the temptation becomes more intense. The silence of the jar seems to mock her. What secrets does it hold? What treasures? What marvels? The prohibition from Zeus, which should have been a deterrent, now acts as a powerful catalyst. The fact that it's forbidden makes it all the more irresistible. She might try to distract herself, to focus on her life with Epimetheus, to enjoy the world her husband's brother helped to build, but her eyes are always drawn back to the enigmatic container. The desire to know what's inside becomes a physical ache, a constant pressure in her mind. Finally, the day comes when she can bear it no longer. Perhaps Epimetheus is out, or perhaps she just can't wait another second. Her hands trembling, she approaches the jar. She knows it's wrong. She can probably hear a faint echo of the warning in her mind. But the divine compulsion, the irresistible urge that was literally part of her design, is too strong to fight. She has to know. She has to look. It's not an act of malice. It's not that she wants to cause trouble. It's an act of pure, overwhelming, God-given curiosity. She works at the heavy lid, prying it open. It's sealed tight, but with a final effort, she manages to lift it just a crack. And in that instant, the world changes forever. From within the jar, a horrifying torrent of shapes and sounds bursts forth. Not jewels, not treasures, not beautiful clothes. What Zeus had packed inside were all the evils and miseries of the world, all the terrible things that humanity, in its firelit innocence, had not yet experienced. They fly out of the jar like a swarm of dark, venomous insects, a plague of abstract horrors given form. Out comes sickness, in all its forms. Fevers, plagues, cancers, frailties that rack the body with pain and decay. Out comes old age, a creeping thief that steals strength, beauty, and memory. Out comes misery, a heavy, gray cloud of despair that drains the world of color. Out comes toil, the back-breaking, soul-crushing labor that turns survival into a burden. Out flies jealousy, a green-eyed monster that poisons friendships and turns love to bitterness. Out flies hatred, greed, war, famine, envy, deceit, and every other imaginable form of suffering and vice. These spirits, these spites, scatter to the winds. They are invisible, silent. They sweep across the globe, entering the homes and hearts of the new human race. One moment, humanity is living in a state of blissful, ignorant grace, a golden age made possible by Prometheus's fire. They know no sickness, no hard labor, no emotional pain. The next moment, a child develops a fever for the first time. A farmer's crops fail for no reason. A friendship sours into a bitter rivalry. A man feels the first pangs of arthritis in his hands. A woman feels the sharp sting of envy at her neighbor's good fortune. The world that was once simple and good is now complicated and full of pain. Death, which was once a peaceful and distant sleep, now comes with suffering and disease as its heralds. The gift of fire gave them the tools to build a paradise, but Pandora's curiosity has just unleashed the hell that will forever fester within it. Pandora, horrified, realizes the catastrophic mistake she has made. In a panic, she slams the heavy lid back onto the jar, trying to stuff the horrors back inside. But it's too late. They're already gone, already loose in the world, irreversibly so. She has been the unwitting agent of Zeus's terrible revenge. His plan has succeeded beyond his wildest dreams. Humanity now has fire. Yes, they have the potential for greatness, but that potential will forever be shackled to suffering. Every step forward they take will be a struggle against the tide of evils that she has just unleashed. She, the all-gifted, has given humanity the most terrible gifts of all. She slumps to the floor, weeping, surrounded by the sudden, profound silence of the now almost empty jar. But it's not completely empty. As she listens, she hears a faint, fluttering sound from within. Something is still trapped inside. The world is reeling. The swarm of evils has been released from the jar, and humanity's brief golden age has come to a screeching, agonizing halt. Sickness, toil, jealousy, and pain are now woven into the very fabric of human existence. Pandora is on the floor, devastated by the consequences of her curiosity, the architect of a misery she never intended. The air is thick with the despair she has just unleashed. But in the silence that follows the cacophony of escaping evils, there's a tiny, persistent sound. A faint fluttering, a gentle tapping from inside the jar she has just slammed shut. Hesitantly, she listens closer. It's not a menacing sound like the others. It's delicate, almost hopeful. Peering at the jar, she wonders if she has trapped one last, terrible evil inside. Or maybe it's something else. Urged on by a different kind of impulse now. Not the frantic curiosity from before, but a sliver of cautious optimism. She decides to lift the lid one more time, just a fraction. And out flutters one last spirit. It doesn't fly out in a vicious swarm. It emerges gently, a soft, warm, glowing light. It's delicate, almost shy. This is Elpis, the spirit of hope. Now, this is arguably the most complex and debated part of the entire myth. Why was hope in the jar with all the evils? And why was it the only thing left behind? The interpretations are fascinating, and they say a lot about the Greek worldview. One interpretation, the more pessimistic one, is that hope is actually the cruelest of all the evils. Think about it. The other evils are straightforward. Sickness makes you suffer physically. Grief makes you suffer emotionally. But what does hope do? When you are at your absolute lowest, when you are sick, in pain, or in despair, hope is the little voice that whispers, "Don't worry, it might get better." It prolongs the agony. It prevents you from accepting your fate and finding a kind of peace and resignation. It's the carrot dangled in front of the dying man, making his last moments a struggle instead of a release. In this view, Zeus packed hope in with the other evils as the final, most insidious torture. It's the thing that keeps humanity striving, suffering, and struggling, preventing them from ever giving up. Even when giving up would be the most rational thing to do. It's the ultimate chain that binds us to a life of toil. But there's another, more common, and I think more beautiful interpretation. This view suggests that hope was not part of the plague of evils at all. It was placed in the jar as a kind of antidote, a counterbalance. Zeus in his infinite complexity, or perhaps the other gods who had a hand in the jar's creation, knew the devastation they were about to unleash. Maybe it was an act of mercy, or maybe it was a way to ensure their new playthings didn't just break immediately. They packed the jar with every misery imaginable, but they put one solitary remedy at the very bottom. In this reading, Pandora's act of slamming the lid shut is actually a moment of profound triumph, even if she doesn't realize it. She unleashed all the evils, yes. But by trapping hope inside, by keeping it in the jar, she made it a permanent fixture in the human home. The evils could fly out and roam the world, but hope stayed with us. It remained a domestic, human possession. It's the one divine spirit that we get to keep close, to nurture by our hearths. This is the hope that allows humanity to endure. It's the force that allows a person sick with disease to believe they can recover. It is the strength that allows a farmer whose crops have failed to plant seeds again next spring. It is the courage that allows people who have been beaten down by war and hatred to rebuild and try to find peace. It's the flicker of light from Prometheus's fire reflected in the human soul. The evils make life a struggle, but hope makes that struggle meaningful. It transforms our existence from a mere catalogue of sufferings into a journey, a quest for something better. And so, humanity's story begins in earnest. It's a story defined by a fundamental paradox. We are the creation of a loving, compassionate Titan who gave us the fire of intellect and creativity. But we are also the victims of a wrathful God who cursed us with every form of suffering. We are creatures who can build cities, write poetry, and map the stars. And we are also creatures who get sick, grow old, and feel the sting of despair. Our lives are a constant battle between the evils that fly freely in the world and the hope that we keep sheltered in our hearts. Prometheus gave us the potential to be like the gods. Pandora, through her tragic mistake, unleash the forces that ensure we will always be mortals. And yet, in that crucible of suffering, tempered by the enduring presence of hope, we find our true identity. We are the struggling, striving, hoping creatures, living out our complicated destiny on an earth that is no longer a simple paradise, but a stage 4 tragedy. Triumph, and the eternal, flickering flame of Elpis, and that's the incredible, foundational story of how we came to be, according to the ancient Greeks. A tale of rebellion, creation, theft, revenge. And the one thing that allows us to get up every morning and face it all again. It tells us that our greatest strengths and our greatest weaknesses are two sides of the same coin, a gift from the heavens that was both a blessing and a curse.